but still being a dreamer kind of like restricts me from it's kind of ironic, it restricts me from dreaming.
I want the children that are growing up in the United States to be dreamers also. They're not dreaming right now.
When someone's coming here, more times than not, they're coming because they're trying to get a better situation.
I get a phone call, and my sister told me that they got him. And I said, what do you mean they got him?
Day one, we end a border policy which allows federal agents to snatch babies from the arms of their mothers.
What they want is to turn the United States of America into the United Socialist States of America.
When I heard about America, for me it was like paradise. It was a place where there was no pain, there was no problem, there was no issues.
The beautiful coloring of our country that is happening at a faster pace is creating fear.
USA! USA! USA!
This man who struck these two women, he was deported 8 times.
These incredible women who lost their daughters and their sons.
That's unfair to say someone's a racist because they take a position.
Life is so hard in Haiti or in the country that they had before, they'll take the risk of getting caught. Like, it's almost like all or nothing.
All the data that I've seen indicates that crime is higher in a sanctuary city than in a non-sanctuary city.
There's rules, there's regulations, there's laws.
Like at the end of the day, you know, I'm just like you.
I am you.
I am
You.
you.
In the end, we remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Welcome back to another episode of The Conversation. I'm New Barretto. Listen, The Conversation bringing different candidates here. We call this Brockton's Breakfast Club. We're just sitting here having a conversation, just talking. I'm joined with Bri Nichols. Bri, first and foremost, thanks for coming on.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Bri, just tell everyone what you're running for. Tell us about yourself. Who's Bri?
All right. So my name is Bri Nichols, but many know me as Coach Bri, and that is because I've been coaching for the Brockton Raiders youth cheer for about 2 years now. I'm also an accountability coach. I'm running for City Council in Ward 7 in Brockton, and I'm very excited to take this journey.
So Bri, what got you into the political game? Was, you know what, I got to step up and really put my hat in the air. Are you seeing something that you're seeing that's not being done? And what can you do differently?
So first of all, I heard someone who was younger than me that made a quote one day, and they said, if not me, then who? And if not now, then when? And it resonated. It made sense we don't need to wait another 10 or 20 years or until our pensions are important to start becoming civically engaged. As I embarked on the journey of becoming civically engaged, it's been great. But I've also found out some greatly awful things about the political trail. And one of the things that I've noticed is the reason that you don't see more people my age or that look like me or are from my community, class, status, whatever it is, it's because of lack of relatability. Currently, we do not have equitable representation in Brockton city government. And that speaks volumes to our most recent census of over 105,000 people, and majority of that is people of color. So with that being said, the first thing I'd be doing is running to crush the leaves to let people know that this is a path traveled, safe to travel, as well as creating more transparency as I uncover things, letting the public know and making them aware, and also providing context to those things, because words mean nothing without context. So the first thing that I'm looking to do is paint a new picture for Brockton. And what that looks like is increased accountability across the city, reimagining what public safety looks like, what thriving businesses look like in our city, and really painting a picture. And transparency, having open dialogue amongst public officials, police, fire, DA's office, mayor's office, counselors, just increasing that transparency so that people feel comfortable with the information and it begins to instill trust.
So let's talk about those 3 points. So I was reading your pamphlet, you had 3 points. So let's talk about the first one, and what would you do specifically?
Okay, so for accountability, the first thing is sitting down to listen and learn. Walking into a position that is new to me, this is my first time in a political arena. There's a lot of listening and learning that I'll need to do, and having my mind be receptive to that. And then taking that feedback and analyzing it to see what we can prioritize for steps to take. Particularly, I know some things that are concerning to me is the water quality in Ward 7. Well, it's really across the whole city, but the problem roots in Ward 7. And budget, questions, things that, previously were just not as thorough in the explanation, so that the people, and myself being the people, have clear understandings about things. So that's what I would do as far as accountability.
What separates you from your opponent?
First thing is there's an age gap, and I believe that if elected, I would want to work with my opponent to hear what are the things that your experience has taught you in relationship to the council. And some of those things I'll be able to take and utilize so that we're not reinventing the wheel, but other things I will be able to innovate and change so that we have more relatability, more accountability, and more just representation in the city of issues that actually matter to voters.
Well, so let's talk about those. So issues that matter to voters. So when you go into the council, if you get elected, what are some issues you're hearing about, that some top priorities that you really want to help tackle with the other city council members?
So recently I had the pleasure of being invited to the Service Employees International Union and the Coalition for Social Justice Candidate Forum. And there was a great opportunity to hear some of the concerns of people that live, work, and pay taxes in our city. Some of the things that were of great concern were, what are we going to do with the homeless population in Brockton? How are we going to provide more resources for them? And not just, saying we have to move them out of Main Street, but what can we really do to address the root of these problems, and not just saying, well, they're homeless and, it doesn't look good for the city. What can we do about this as a community? One of the other things that I heard were concerns about information being translated. We have a very large immigrant population here in Brockton. I would like to say that is the fiber that, weaves together the thread of Brockton. And we need to make sure that, council meetings are being translated in all of those languages, which the main 3 that I can, say that I've encountered outside of English is Spanish, Haitian, and Cape Verdean Creole. So we need more resources. We can't be proactive when people don't have access to that information. If I'm, providing what I think is help to you, but you can't understand me, or I can't understand you to really hear what it is that you need, then I'm not effective for you. So we lose people and we lose relationships and trust when that happens. So we need to be able to communicate to everyone.
Last year, George Floyd, the incident happened, protests all over the country, even here in Brockton. And then it sparked a lot of conversation about changing policing. How do we turn protests to progress? What are some things, because there were talks about doing different things and people are complaining a year later that has not happened.
Right.
So obviously, city council, you're working with other people, and the mayor is really spearheading the budget, but you guys approve it. You guys approve the police budget. You get the buck stops with you guys. What would you do to mend that relationship that seems a little fractured around the whole country between community and police, where the community feels like there's some progress being made, and for the police aspect, feel like this community has their back as well?
So I love what you said, protest to progress. You got to say stuff that's catchy so people hear what you
can have that one. I want for free. You can have that one.
Protest to progress. I love that. And you also hit the nail on the head with stating that there's an elephant in the room right now, and it's across the country, but moreover, it's right here where we live. And what that elephant in the room looks like is a lack of trustworthiness and a feeling of safety and security, which are Maslow's hierarchies of needs. The first basic levels of belongingness and, trust are how you progress through that. And with that being said, the elephant in the room is that racism still very much so exists, and very much so in Brockton. And people like to say this is not a black issue or a white issue, and it's not always going to be. But if we fail to see the issue that lies there, then we can't make progress. The protest will be in vain if people still aren't feeling us. Because you can hear us all day long, but do you really feel what we go through? You know, there's a separate set of conversations that parents of 13-year-old boys needs to have when there's a white 13-year-old boys, you know, don't fall into peer pressure. Don't, you know, do these things with your friends. Don't jump off the bridge if they say so. But that 13-year-old black male is getting the conversation of make sure you comply with the police. Make sure you don't sag your pants and look a certain way or fit a certain description that could make you look like something else. So in Brockton, right now, we definitely need to address those issues, create safety nets for our youth. And that means figuring out what it would take for them, hearing their voices about why do you not trust the police or public officials or anybody in, you know, city government, because that's foreign to us. Why do you not trust them? And what would it take for you to begin to trust them? And that conversation has to happen, not just with the adults who have think that they have all the right answers for all these years, but with kids who are coming up in this environment and really having them weigh in on these conversations.
The city council just approved the budget and taxes went up again. Obviously, you know, this is you know, we're a middle class city, so, you know, we're not a wealthy community, so that hurts the community. So what would you do to bring some money into the city so we don't keep getting these tax raises all the time? I mean, I'm feeling it. I looked at my mortgage, like, damn, again. So it's like, everyone feels it, you know. So what would you do to help stop that? Because that, you know, obviously, you know, we're not a wealthy city.
All right. First and foremost, that is the job of the council, is to review the budget for the city and allocate funds as appropriate.
Now, I know the mayor it spearheads bringing businesses into the city, but you guys, again, you guys approved that budget and, you know, approved not getting a tax rate or a tax rise or what have you. So more specifically in terms of that question, I know you won't be able to bring a business in. I know that's the mayor, but having said that, it is part of the process.
Absolutely. So if we talk business, the city is a business, and at the end of the day, the mayor is the head of marketing and he is the face of the city, and then the council is the finance department, and they're in charge of regulating those finances. Then there's supposed to be a separate department for auditing, which we do not currently have anyone sitting in that position. So first would be to fill those 10 positions that have been so much talked about being vacant for some time now in Brockton, to make sure that we have the people, the right people in the right places, to make sure that our money is being monitored, filtered, you know, and audited. Are we currently in debt as a city, you know, more than what the state would allow for us to be in debt? Can we, you know, afford to take on new debts for new things that we're doing? We need to be clear about this. The public needs to know, you know, before something is approved or denied or whatever have you, the public needs to be aware of that. For the past year, myself, Jamal Brathwaite, and a few other people have held city meetings that we've invited people to and just have not had a lot of numbers in, but we do get, you know, a fluctuating turnout of people, and those meetings have been on Sundays prior to the city council meeting so that people can be clear about the topics that will be on the agenda, and if they have something they want to comment on, they now have that option because they've been informed.
Those are a big tuda at the city council meeting about you know, the accusation about getting tax credits to certain businesses who are coming into the city. In terms of that, how do you feel about that? It's, you know, being able to give a tax credit or, you know, a little relief to a business coming in, is that something you believe that could help attract businesses? What are your thoughts on that?
So of course it could attract businesses, and it's a state-run program to be able to give those tax incentives to these different enterprises. However, I do believe that those incentives should be prioritized with socially economic applicants first. We shouldn't have, you know, multimillionaires getting discounts for things when at the end of the day you've done a great job and built a great, you know, successful company. So now pay back into the community. It's time that we create, you know, feasible grounds for business. We create a friendly environment. It's not business friendly right now for small businesses or large businesses. So we do need to reevaluate how that process goes.
I work with a lot of youth in the city as well as you do, and just kudos for that. Yeah, I think that's a passion of both of ours. They don't feel like they're being heard. They feel like they're being ignored. How would you? There was a student who asked me a question and said there was about 1,000 graduates from Brockton High, Southeastern, and Cardinal Spelman. Let's just say 2,000 graduates a year who are around 18 years old. How do you inspire them to get involved? Into the city, into politics, to make them feel like they're heard. How would you make them feel they're heard if you're a city councilor?
So as a city councilor, we have what would be called the power of advocacy. And that is listening to concerns like that and making suggestions and allocating funds to make sure that those suggestions, like you said, go from protest to progress. So essentially, I've been an unheard youth in this city, and I have and continue to experience the lack of entertainment that we have here. There's no movie theaters, there's no skating rings. You've got to go to surrounding towns to enjoy those types of things. We're a very diverse city, but our cuisine, doesn't always reflect that. There are a lot of things that we can do to make this city more enticing to businesses, and particularly we have to hear what some of those business ideas are that these kids have. Are there I have a few youth that I work with directly one-to-one, and a few of them have started businesses already. But it's not an easy process to just go to the city as a 16 or a 17-year-old and say, hey, I want to start a business. Can somebody walk me through this process? As well as just making sure that we're creating more recreation for them and hearing them, inviting them to these meetings. I have my 8-year-old daughter door knock with me and canvas and, do all of the workings of my campaign right now, because it's important for them to see that early on to then look to that later in life.
We're just about ready to wrap up. Just again, tell the viewers, why should they vote you as Ward 7 City Councilor?
So I believe that people should vote for me because I see something different for Brockton. I bring a breath of fresh air. I bring relatability to the city. I've experienced a lot of the issues and concerns that our residents have, expressed to me. I've championed those issues on my own, and it's my life's work to make sure that I'm able to advocate for others. So the art of my plan is to create more accountability, reimagination, and transparency in our city.